real high-class bout. It's on! It's on!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast here on Boss Rush Games. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the wise Wisconsinite, Mr. Jesse Douglas.
How's it going?
It's going. It's going. Joining us
Better.
is the Colonel himself, Colonel Panic, Joe Wilson.
Hello.
And also, last but definitely not least, again, our lore archivist, a.k.a. Josh, Series S, Finney.
Why am I the Series S?
I don't know.
Because you need a candle in front of your face.
Listen, I'm big. There's more to love. If anything, I'm the Series X, okay?
He's the power of, he's the tower of power.
That's right. I'm the tower of motherfucking power.
Oh man, how's everyone doing tonight? Everybody, get their boxes, get their let's.
Well, technically, you got my box.
I know that's true. I did. Let's talk. Let's
But,
let's just who cares? Let's just roll right into it. And so pre-orders went live the day our last episode went live, right? And that literally
Episodes.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, Josh and I did a 45-minute episode about our main topic today, which is Bethesda being purchased by Microsoft and what it means for, Xbox and other. But pre-ordering this box, who had no issues whatsoever? To be fair, I got right on Amazon and bought it with no issues whatsoever.
No.
This is the worst pre-order thing I've ever gone through, and I've tried to pre-order waves 2 and 3 of Amiibo. This was bad. This was real bad. I don't know if it says more about the console manufacturers or if it's just that at a certain point these storefronts need to learn to be able to handle more traffic. Because essentially with them shutting down, saying, oh, this page doesn't exist, we saw that at Target, we saw things getting yanked out of carts, saw it at Walmart, Best Buy, of course, even the Microsoft Store went down for a while. It's essentially a large-scale DDoS attack is what's happening to those servers when we're all F5ing at the same time. I do think that Amazon and, to an extent, Microsoft had probably the best and smoothest pre-orders. I was able to get a Series S. Once I finally stopped jamming the refresh button, it kind of popped right up for me and let me put in my address. It was really weird. I tried like 6 different times to put my address in, and it's like, we can't ship here. Like, yes, you can. I promise you can ship here. This is a residential address. And then Amazon, like Corey said, like that was bam, 2 clicks and I was done.
Yeah.
I like, if it doesn't come launch day, whatever, I don't care. I got one, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
I got one of each. I got an X and an S, so.
Yeah, I had, like I said last week, I had an army of people trying to pre-order this thing for me. My wife had all kinds of problems. I couldn't get into Target. My mom was trying to figure out how to use a smartphone, apparently, for the first time, even though she's had one for about, 3 years. She's like, and then my dad downloaded the Best Buy app for the first time. He's like, oh, apps are neat. I'm like, yeah, they are. Welcome to 2007. Sorry, Dad, I love you. Thank you for helping. But like out of everybody at that point, my mom's the one that ended up getting it on Target.
Oh my God.
Through Target. So I got mine through Target. Amazon's page wasn't loading, and then I went to my local GameStop, and the line was like wrapped around the building, which was the first time I've ever seen that happen at this GameStop. And I'm like, oh geez, well, they said they were getting 15 and 4, they got 7 and 2, so I'm like, oh well, I'm not even gonna try. And then I tried Target, and when I went back to work from my lunch break, I was like, you know what? Let me see if Amazon's working yet. I popped right on Amazon, pre-ordered it, good to go. So I have 2 pre-ordered, and obviously one's going to Jesse because Jesse didn't, you know.
Yeah, because what happened is, so like the only site that I was having any luck on whatsoever was Best Buy. And every time I would add one into the cart, it would say that one's in there. Then it would go through the whole situation of me filling out whatever. And I was logged in and everything on there, but it kept on just erroring out. And I forget what it said, but it just kept on doing something where it wouldn't let me pay for it, wouldn't let me pay for it, wouldn't let me pay for it. And then it would kick it out of my cart and everything. So I think what happened is they probably had already sold out at some point already. Well, because I mean, it was a good hour that I was trying still, you know, like from the point that they started till, you know, which it sounds like a lot of stuff was gone within a half an hour. But yeah, so that was the only one that I literally could get anywhere on. And you know, like, I don't remember what the other ones were, but it was really weird on the Best Buy one. Like, you couldn't just, like, it didn't just say pre-order on the actual Xbox. There was a little tiny hidden link underneath the picture that you had to click. And I wonder if things like that were the reason that the Series X sold so much, is because all these bots that were like, you know, like that people were trying to use were spamming, were all buying those things because it was set up differently. Like, you know, having a little link that wouldn't normally be the way you'd be able to buy something. And so they were being directed to the One X's, and that's why those went up 700 and something %, because the bots were buying them all, getting directed.
So, I mean, so two things on that real quick. Like, on Best Buy's pre-orders, I do not know a single person who was able to get a pre-order from Best Buy on either console. Unless, Joe, you got one from there, and I don't think you did.
Did not.
I don't know a single person who was able to get there. That was my preferred retailer to try and get it from. I want those sweet reward points. I want my elite status to be renewed. I'm on the verge of it. I needed that $500 put towards it. I'm rather upset. But on a more serious topic, though, the bots with the One X, it might be the funniest thing to happen in the last couple of weeks in video games. Because, so if you know how to read Amazon charts, it's even better, because it goes, everyone's like, oh my God, it went up 700%. It could go up 700% if they sold 7 more units than the 7 they sold the week before. Like, we know they stopped manufacturing the box already. I personally think it's funny that everyone took the story and ran with it. That's almost better than the bots getting them. Like, I'm sorry, Grandma is not that stupid in ordering that for little Timmy. Game Pass Gary got his fucking box. Timmy got his. I'm sure he got a box, because the rest of us had problems getting characters. Okay,
Bot Barry Bot got his Xbox One X.
Yeah, and
Barry can stub his large toe and can step on Legos every night for the rest of his life.
Well, and I said to all these people,
he can step on mega constructs.
I said to all these people who were claiming that these were people that were you know, like, not getting the right name or whatever, like, you know, ordering the same thing and blaming it on that. I'm like, since when is there ever an option to pre-order something that's been out for years? Well, if it doesn't say pre-order, then then you're not buying, you know.
I think the argument with that is just like that the naming convention is going to be confusing as we get farther into the generation, which is, as the four of us know, is ridiculous, because the other boxes have already been discontinued. But on top of that, you cannot seriously try and make that argument with me after the Nintendo DS family over 15 years sold 150 million units. We had the Nintendo DS, we had the DS Lite, we had the DSi, the 3DS, the new 3DS, the 3DS XL, the 2DS, the new 2DS, the 2DS XL. Like, you cannot tell me that this is that confusing. The Wii U, yes, that had some of it, because it looked almost the exact same with a new gamepad. That is one thing. This, on the other hand, like, no, I don't understand this argument. I get that we're plugged in more than the average consumer, but I've never once seen somebody confused in the store as to what DS they're buying or anything. So, come on, guys. This is an excuse to take a cheap shot.
I think you're half right. I think it absolutely is a cheap shot. Do I think it's confusing, and do I think people were confused? Yes. I do. I mean, like,
sure, but I don't think it's as widespread as people were trying to make it out.
no, I don't think
it's going to be so
Right.
confused.
I don't think all those jumps are just pure confusion. But if you go and buy, so Amazon used to be great to buy things on. You could go search for the thing, you find your thing, you hit add to your cart, and you're good to go. But now, even if you search for Xbox, even if you search for Xbox Series X, you get, sure, like the defunct Xbox Series X listing, but then you get about 9,000 other Xbox One X listings from every generation, from different sellers, different resellers. They all have different prices. So I part of me, like, gets the general confusion. You also have a situation right now with the pandemic, and you have everybody shopping from home. So everybody's looking, and there's people that may have never pre-ordered before, so they know that you can buy, like, if your kid says, "Hey, Mom, I need you to go online tomorrow morning at this time and buy me the new Xbox because that's when it's available," she's not thinking, like, pre-order in her head necessarily. So are there valid claims of that? I'm sure. Do I think that it's more of a story? I think it's more of a story.
Right. No, it was one tweet that went viral with it, and like a ton of people that I know who personally.
It was
it
was a clickbait.
We're like, hey, by the way, if you know how to read Amazon charts, this isn't accurate. Like, did the sales go up? Yes. Is this funny? Yes. But that's not what happened. Like, Johnny is still going to have one under the tree this year. And honestly, like, just if you're confused, go to a Best Buy or a Target and find the youngest looking guy who looks like he chugs a Red Bull 24 hours a day and ask him to get it for you.
so he convinces you to buy a PlayStation 5 instead.
I mean, hey, listen, at that point I'd be like, if I'm a parent and I'm tight on money, you're getting whatever's cheapest and in stock.
Speaking of PlayStation 5, like, is anybody else considering waiting on a redesign until that thing is, like, small enough to fit in your entertainment center? Because that thing is huge.
Man, now that I don't have it, I'm fine with waiting any amount of time for some sort of incentive or ease of access to get.
Yeah.
Like, my thing with the PS5 is we've heard for months about how chunky the Series X is, and I don't think any of us expected the PS5 to be as big as it is.
Yeah.
Until we saw the pictures and we're like, oh my god, like this is horrific. Like, that might not. I have a big entertainment center, and that genuinely might not fit in mine.
Yeah.
And I was not concerned about the Series X, but I want to wait on a redesign, but I also want to be able to play God of War opening weekend next year. So unless the redesign is coming real fast, like the PS3, where it went from a George Foreman to a Panini press, I don't see it happening.
PlayStation, or I should say Sony, is going to be looking to save money as soon as possible. So I would imagine within a year, you're going to at least see a chip redesign where they're going to use smaller chips that are less, like, have less heat. Even if the box is exactly the same, I bet there's going to be a cheaper chip that they were able to put in there just with time. Did Nintendo did that, like Xbox did that every generation. It's just, I think that's just going to happen.
Remember
Slim or whatever.
Remember the PS2 Slim? I've been cleaning out some stuff to sell.
Yeah, dude, those are small.
Yeah. Where's that box at? When do we get that box again? You know, where's that?
I just have one down in the basement.
I just love the design of that console so much, and I'm just like, man, that was.
I know,
man. So
they did that with the PlayStation 1 too.
Yeah, the PS1.
There's really redesigns for almost every console, every generation. I think like the only notable ones I can think off the top of my head that didn't get one are the N64, the original Xbox, and the GameCube. Never had redesigns.
And the Dreamcast kind of, I guess, did. They had that black version that had the more powerful. It had LAN support instead of just regular
I did
dial-up
Dreamcast because it didn't last a full generation, so
it lasted
it still is the best shortest lived console.
It really is, but yeah.
Man, rip
but
Dreamcast.
We came away victorious, gentlemen.
Yes.
That's what matters here.
So did
Jesse
anybody
came away victorious by proxy?
Yeah.
Which it doesn't matter how it happened. It happened.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I tried to change the shipping address, and
it just doesn't.
It's struggling to change the shipping address on there.
Yeah, I still think
them.
Call them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I was gonna say I wonder if it's one of those things where it's just like I said, where it's because it's depends on amount of product where you live, and they don't want to have to ship that product from there to somewhere else. Because with I'm guessing a lot of the Amazon stores, because we have one right by us that they just built, a massive one by the airport now. Like it's literally like 15-minute drive away from me now. We have just a massive Amazon.
They just built one here too.
But I think what it is all those places in your area, whoever was selling them, all of them will go to that one place, and then they don't want to have to send it from there, or they can't technically send one that we have here to me because that's already called for or whatever, possibly.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to,
I don't know.
If I have to ship it to you, I have to ship it to you.
So be it. We'll figure that out. But
yeah. But speaking of things that we pre-ordered, anybody pre-order one of them 1 terabyte chips?
Yay.
Because I did. Me and Joe did. Yeah.
I now know 3 people who have ordered these, and I understand the reasoning, but I'm just so fascinated by this right now.
Well, let me
my thing. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, let me tell you about the Best Buy deals that I got with this thing. I got. Well, it wasn't really like a bundle or anything, but for $400 I got that chip, I got the Shock Blue controller, I got
Conspiracy Blue.
Yeah, I got the rechargeable battery pack, I got 3 months of Game Pass, and I got the Halo Master Chief statue thing.
Oh, you got a bargain.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Corey broke it down like that, I was like, okay, it sounds less bad that you spent $400 now. But
oh, and one of those weird $10 Xbox Series X collectible cards that nobody knows what it is.
All about. I'm so curious. The $220 price tag it's a little rough until you start looking at the specs on that thing and you realize, to get that in an actual external SSD at 1 terabyte, you're looking to spend about that much. You might save like $20. This is the cost of adopting new technology right as it launches, though. Like we've always talked about this. This is just like buying into a new console. Like you could wait 2 or 3 years for the price to go down, but if you want it now, you're going to pay that premium.
Yeah.
It is what it is ultimately. I really want to see these when they go down in price, maybe next fall. I have to think, like, as this technology becomes more widespread with both Series X and PS5, it's going to have to. And as they let more people other than freaking C8 make these, they'll hopefully get cheaper. Fingers crossed. I really do like the design of these stuff. Reminds me of a PS1 memory card.
Yeah, like my theory or what, like my whole interest in that kind of comes secondary, because I'm interested in first is seeing how seamlessly like stuff will transfer from hard drives that we have now to the hard drive in it. Like if it doesn't take very long to do that, then I honestly I might get one down the road. But then you start thinking, well, all the time that we're having to invest in this, are we still like making up for the loading time that we would have had to deal with otherwise? That's the thing. I just want to see how everything works first to find out whether it's even going to be something that I absolutely am going to feel like I need anytime soon,
I think because you can probably determine that by the read and write speed of the drive you have, because everything else is faster than that.
Yeah, so if I just want to see it perform, how long, if I have a game on my hard drive that I have now and I want to transfer it to the one on the Xbox, how long does that take? If it doesn't take very long, then I don't care. Like I said, if it's like practically takes as long as for you to get up, grab a physical copy of a game, get the disc out, put the disc in it, and then start it up and play it. You know, like if that's how long it takes for me to transfer a game over to to the new hard drive, well then honestly it's not that big of a deal, you know.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So if I just keep the games on my 4 terabyte one and just transfer over what games that are on there that I want, and delete and whatever things on there that I don't need anymore or whatever.
Yeah, I like that you're saying that, just because that's going to be probably my approach as well, is to get a 3.1 or 3.2 enabled hard drive and just use that, going from WD for maybe like half the price initially, just to transfer the stuff off of my Series S, so I'm not, or God, my Xbox. See, I'm messing up too. My Xbox One S to my Series X when that happens. Just so I'm not redoing, even though I have unlimited internet, I don't want to sit there re-downloading Forza Horizon, Gears of War, Halo, all those. Like, I've already got to redo that with Destiny. I don't want to do it with all the other massive games I play. I think, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be articles coming out this week or next week, since the preview units do have the memory cards with them. They've been told they will be able to explore every asset and every facet of these consoles. Of course, the Verge and IGN and all them were breaking the story about the memory card, about the price, about the specs inside of it, which is the first time we've heard those specs. I'm pretty sure they're going to be allowed to run speed tests and comparisons with other hard drives in the coming week or two. If that's not publicized before launch, I'd be shocked. Like, it may wait until this initial allotment is sold out. But after that, like, I expect to see these stories widespread, lots of testing going on, especially from the guys over at Digital Foundry. That's who I'm really looking forward to reading on with this. They were, of course, the first ones allowed in the building to see the Series X and the Series S way back in March. They had to keep that a secret too. If anybody knows what these machines can do, it's going to be them. So, I don't know. I think that that price tag is shocking, and it really is. It was shocking to me too until I did a lot of reading. And that is something, though, like, it's primarily going to be used on the Series X, most likely. It is for those hardcores. It's not for an enthusiast. It's for the people who, like, we play a lot of massive games, a lot of big multiplayer games. We don't want to be deleting and reinstalling games all the time.
Especially because,
for this group, it makes sense, but for Game Pass Gary, it makes no sense.
I mean, we were talking about this yesterday, Josh. Like, was it maybe it was Friday when we were in a party chat together? Like, Gears 4 is like 15 gigs, right? And that's...
I was talking to Corey and Mitch while I was downloading Gears 4 to play through it, and I was like, Jesus, I can't believe this game is this massive. This is ridiculous. Like, at a certain point, the file sizes are because you're just not compressing them. Like, you're not compressing your textures and things like that, and I'm genuinely terrified for some of these games that are getting facelifts. Like, Gears 5 is already almost, 90 gigs?
I think it's 91 on One X.
With 4K, with ray tracing enabled, like, that's going to be even bigger. I'm a little scared to see the size of a game like that. But that's the definition of something like, hey, I'll probably play it and then move it to the external. Like, I don't mind moving a game back and forth. If it's going to take me 15, 20 minutes, cool. I'll hook it up while I go make something to eat or make myself a drink or something. Take my bathroom break and come back and have it done. I'm really not too concerned. And I realize I come from a place of privilege being able to say that, like, oh, I got to re-download something. I have gigabit fiber that's unlimited. I don't care. I'll re-download. Like, I know that not everybody has that. I just came from 50 megs. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't mind moving stuff from an external to the internal either, but, like, when I have stuff like, Destiny, the Avengers, Master Chief Collection, and then Halo Infinite eventually, Gears 5 I will have on there, Gears Tactics. At that point, it's like, well,
you don't have space to move too.
So
right. And that's the other thing that I'm wrestling with right now. And the reality is, if I wasn't buying a Series S for Chelsea, I would likely spend that money on a expansion card. But I think for now it's going to be USB drive for me, and then sometime next summer, maybe next fall, before, like, Fable and Avowed and all those start getting firm release dates or targeted release months, I'll probably start investing sometime after Halo.
So, I mean, plus, like, the 5 terabyte just external drive is like $120 right now, which is like
Yeah, I want to get one with the specs that I know like will guaranteed work with a Series X.
yeah.
Well,
This was the Xbox branded Western Digital one. So
yeah, the Xbox branded ones are good then.
Josh, what you'll have to try too is that right now, if you have two Xboxes that are on the same network and you're transferring a file from one to the other, you should try that between the S and the X.
Well, that's true. See, I hadn't thought about that because in my mind, like, still, I'm, and you know, if PS5 pre-orders do open back up, I will have both the consoles will be out the door by the time the X comes out. That's just been my constant operating thought. But yeah, I will probably experiment with that then. To see if I can just do a local transfer. I'd rather do that, frankly. I have enough that I don't need to transfer everything over.
Because if you have the bandwidth on your network to do anything close to gigabit, and you have the file sizes or the speed of the Xbox X and the S are faster than the drives hand down, it might be faster to be like, oh, I can bump this game to this Xbox and play this on this. You know what I mean? Just to have.
Because I mean, I'd only be moving my massive games. I'd be moving my Master Chief Collection, my Forza Horizon, and I mean, hell, I got to reinstall Destiny. So like GTA 5 may be my only other.
Reinstalling
everyone
Destiny.
Installing Destiny on.
This goes back to the pre-orders. This is why I was scared of getting mine in the mail and I wanted to do an in-person pre-order. That is going to be a nightmare because you're going to have a UI update that's going to hit. Microsoft's never launched a console without one, I don't think. And you're going to have Destiny. We have to re-download the entire game.
Aren't they trying to roll out that UI stuff before the Series X launches, like through the Xbox One also? Because aren't they supposed to eventually have the same UI? Because they just launched the new store.
You have to probably update your stuff before.
So they do have it,
true.
but they will have the same UI. But
right.
There's going to be something in those consoles. Like, it's not going to be the actual day one UI, because if you think they were manufacturing these months ago.
Yeah, I forgot.
There is another option. You could play it on Game Pass through something else, through xCloud, while you're waiting for it to download.
Not on my Apple device.
I like Joe's theory of trying to do an inter-network transfer for me, because Bungie came out last week and was like, yeah, we're gonna try and post it in the evening on the 9th. We're gonna just shut Destiny down and probably pull what they did before Shadowkeep, just shut it down for 24 hours with the next gen adjustments coming, and I'll just download a device to my 1S and hope and pray that it comes over, and just all I have to do is just download like the 4K textures at that point. Like, if that happens, I might actually get to play before dinner time on launch day. It's going to be the worst. It's a console launch and it's a Destiny launch. This is going to be so bad. So I'm terrified for this.
My pre-order came from, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it came from GameStop. And that's because I exhausted all of their options and I was in that GameStop waiting room, and then it just happened to click through after I exhausted everything else. And then I was able to buy one.
At this point, wherever you can get it is where you get it.
Yeah.
Sure, but I also got it for in-store pickup at the GameStop that is like less than a mile down the road from my house. So, I mean, hopefully, as long as they don't screw me over like they have done in the past, GameStop, if you're listening.
Well, who knows if they'll be open in 6 weeks.
It should be, because I got it through All Access as well. I'll tell you, I don't have to go into it, but I definitely think that I only got it because I got All Access. Because I think the difference between that checkout and other pre-order is that like people will get denied doing an All Access route because there has to be like credit availability. And I absolutely have a thing from Citizens One that like made me go through and sign up. It's like linked to my mortgage now, so like,
oh god,
I'm paying for it. So they better get it. It like impacted my credit, so you have to give it to me, I think. Anywho, so assuming that I'm able to get it when that GameStop opens, which I'm expecting to, I hopefully will have enough time. I might have to take that whole day off work just to do the setup and download everything and feel okay about it. But I think that I'll be able to get it in the morning, And then my first thing is going to be update the Xbox and download Destiny because I don't think anything else is on the docket for it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
that first day. I mean, hopefully Target delivers on day one. If not, well, I mean, it says on the receipt. It says your package will arrive anywhere between November 10th and November 16th, and I'm like, oh Jesus, I don't.
I'm low key a little. God, we're going to talk about this every week until it launches. I feel like
Yeah.
our shipping updates. I finally got hit with it. What was it, yesterday? I think we were at Target and we're coming out, and my phone starts beeping, and I look down at it, and it's an email from Amazon saying an update on your Xbox order. I'm like, oh God, no.
Yeah,
Oh
no.
God.
I got it
And
too.
I go to read it, and it's the same thing as the PS5 one. Like it may not arrive on launch day, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I still have it. Worst case scenario, I play part of Beyond Light on the 1S or on the Series S that's coming from Microsoft. Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it being late, knowing I have one coming.
Yeah, that's like the whole thing is like, okay, the thing too is like the one that my mom ordered for me is going to their house, and like I have to make like a 40-minute trip out there just to get it if the Amazon one doesn't show up. Which, by the way, the Amazon one is for Jesse. So as soon as I get it, I'm taking it to the post office to just ship to him. Right? Like that's whatever. And then like I'm gonna have to go to the post office to mail it, and then I'm gonna have to drive 40 minutes to go get mine, and then 40 minutes back home, and then do all the stuff I normally do, set it up, get it set up, and then I'll probably set it up while I'm recording Nintendo Power Block that night, honestly, if it comes on launch day.
Yeah, that's what's gonna. I have to also make like a 30-minute drive to go get our Series S because it would not accept my apartment address as a valid shipping address when I was trying to check out with Microsoft. So in a panic, I put my aunt's address because it was the only one I could remember. I couldn't remember my own father's address, but I could remember my aunt's. So I shipped it to her and my mom's house, and I was like, by the way, there's like a $300 box coming on November 10th. Can you please make sure that you're home all day for this? Please, for the love of God. She's like, well, why don't you come get it? I'm like, because I'm going to be up saving the galaxy and shooting aliens, okay? Like, I will come get it. And if I have to reinstall things, I will drive down and get it. But if it's not there by like 1 o'clock, forget it. I'll come get it that night, really late at night. Or you can drive it up to me, you know? You want to come see my new place, you can come see my new place. So I need to call Microsoft and see if they'll change that, because I'm not driving 4 minutes each way to go get that Xbox.
Yeah.
Oh man, it sounds like. I mean, look, I'm glad we all are sitting here at least right now. Knock on wood, right?
Yeah.
Like we all are getting one within the launch day period, I would say. So
Yeah.
As long as it comes launch week, honestly, I won't be too concerned now that I'm not trading my consoles in.
yeah.
I'd be in much more of a cold sweat right now, thinking about that. Like, oh God, I traded in both my consoles. This thing better come day one.
Mhm.
Like, the plan was always to trade them in the day before, regardless. But now I'm like, all right. I got a little bit of leeway. I can attempt to make next gen Destiny work on the last gen for like a night or two.
Yeah.
It won't go well, but I can try it.
Yeah, and I mean, my One X will probably just. I don't know where I'm going to put that. It might be time. I already retired my PlayStation 4. It's already in the basement in a box. Just, it's done. It was a good ride, but
Sleep well, sweet prince.
Cue the Wiz Khalifa song from the end of Furious 7.
well, what I would like to do is trade in because everything I have installed on my PlayStation 4 is available in that PlayStation 5, PlayStation Plus package or whatever. And theoretically, PlayStation 5 is backwards compatible anyway.
It is.
So what I would like to do is like get rid of my PS3 and PS4 at some point and like just, probably towards the PlayStation 5 whenever that thing is readily available and smaller. That thing is so big. It bothers me how big that thing is. It just
Yeah.
It's weird to me that, like, and I think you touched on this earlier, but like everyone was ragging on the Xbox Series X because it's like, look how big and square it is. And it's like, at least it's a rectangle. It's not like this like weird like droplet of thing that it's not only large, but it's like, how do I even put this somewhere where it makes sense?
Like, listen, I loved it. I will be honest, the design of the PS5 may be one of my favorite designs ever, like since the GameCube.
Yeah.
But one, this thing looks like it's an alien machine that's going to perform brain surgery on me in my sleep.
Oh, I wish.
Two, this thing is totally curved because the fans are in the middle of this thing. Like, I think that's the thing with both of these designs is both of them were like, all right, we cannot have our consoles sounding like jet engines anymore.
Dude, my PlayStation 5.
This is bad.
Anything I play something other than like, I don't know, an indie game on my PlayStation 4, it sounds like my house is going to take off.
Mine sounded like it was taking off playing Resogun, so not even indie games are safe. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, Ghost of Tsushima, people are just terrified that it's gonna catch. Tim Geddes, I think, was showing that he opened up all the doors on his entertainment center to let everything vent out because he was so scared of that thing.
I joked that with a lot of these games, coming to PS4 anyways, that maybe I'll just get a PS4 for now, and then when I'm playing Flight Simulator on my Series X, I can put in Horizon 2 and fire it up so I can get the realistic sounds of an engine starting.
I don't say this to like joke. I'm genuinely terrified to hear how loud the PS4 and Xbox One, like base PS4 and base Xbox Ones, are going to be trying to run Cyberpunk or Horizon Forbidden West. I'm actually kind of terrified of that.
I can find out because I still have an original 1X or a 1 in my living room to actually see what
I have the Halo 5 Xbox One in our bedroom, and man, even playing like Destiny digitally, it still sounds like, man, it's taxiing for takeoff. It's ready.
I hope that Mad Catz designs a like fire suppression system for the next gen systems.
Oh, it's only going to work like 2 out of 3 times.
Clouds of smoke when they get too hot. Because that's essentially, there's this whole aftermarket scam of being like, you need more fans on your system? Here's a base that has lights and fans.
Am I going to get cramps in my hands installing that like I did with the Mad Catz controllers?
I hope so. What's the point? If
You're a monster. You're a monster.
You gotta feel like you actually did something.
It's funny that we say this. Mad Catz made a fan for the original Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Where was that this generation? People would have bought that in droves. GameStop, I literally can save your business if you make these.
They have a cool one for the One. They have a cool, not Mad Catz, but there's a cool one for the One that adds like 4 more USB ports too. It's a big fan
it's
thing.
Counterintuitive then.
Oh, Mad Catz. Oh, man. So, well, I'm glad we all are, pending some
next
catastrophe.
And so the other thing that I ended up pre-ordering is I actually pre-ordered a copy of Halo Infinite with the statue.
Yeah,
but it comes with the metal box thing too.
Yeah,
the metal tin box.
I just got the statue.
For steel books.
I got
the steel book.
That stupid cabinet that I don't even buy physical games for. No idea what I'm.
I did end up getting this too.
God, it's so gorgeous out of the box.
I know it's.
That's cool.
It's sexy. I'm not gonna lie.
I want the cyberpunk one that's basically like that with Keanu Reeves with the metal arm and he's playing the guitar. He's shredding on the guitar that they sell at Walmart.
Johnny Silverhand.
Yeah, I kind of want to get that because every time I see it, it's only I think $25 too. Like every time I see it, I'm like, this is pretty cool looking, and it's it's big. It's about as big as that one is, and it's $25 only. So
yeah, I'm starting this new thing where I'm like curating my collection now. Where I have like 1,000 amiibo, but like I want really nice, just collectible figures. I'm looking at getting like a nice bookcase for my office to put them all in, but like the crappy ones on the bottom because kids. and the nice one's on top. It's the
I
goal.
definitely understand that sentiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, my kid thinks it's really fun to come in here and grab the Destiny Ghost and throw it, and she thinks it's hilarious. Which is why I only have the regular Ghost instead of, like, one of the fun ones. So.
Yeah, I have the Ghost Edition from the original Collector's Edition, and I would be terrified if somebody threw it.
Yeah. She already threw my Switch and broke one of the Joy-Cons, so, you know.
There's only two game type collectible things that there's three that I really still want. One is the Titanfall one, the big massive, where it's just the big massive Titan with the pilot on it. It's still I think one of the best, coolest looking, but it's like $200-$300 or whatever to buy it.
Still for sale by my
when it originally came out. Now it goes on eBay for like $300 or $400.
Oh, it's for sale by one of the used game stores by my house for $92, I think.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the big
if I saw that thing for $92, I would buy it today.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anywhere to put it. So I have
these two guys from Hotline Miami.
Oh, nice.
That's funny.
So these were awesome. It was on Kickstarter, and these are this one comes with like all the different heads and the weapons, and like the clothes are like clothes.
That's
but I have these two guys posed on my one speaker like they're always fighting. And every time my 5-year-old comes down, he's like, "Dad, can I play with those?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not!" Like they came in like a box. They go for like several $100s on like eBay now. Because they never went into full production, and he's always like, "Can I play?" And I know that someday I'm going to come down here, and he's going to be playing with them, and their arms are going to be broken off or something like that. I don't give him much credit. I don't know. I'm a bad parent, and so I'm always nervous. Like when I come down here, my eyes always dart over there first. I'm like, "Are those safe?" And then I go to the other shelf. I'm like, "Are those safe?" So it's like one of those.
I do that except with my cat.
You always feel so good about the things you obtained, and then you immediately grow so fearful about their safety. It's a curse.
I still want the one thing that I really, really want, and it's really hard to find, is I still want the portal gun. Like they had the replica one. Yeah. Like that. That's cool. But I want the Cave Johnson picture that talks. Like it looks like a big painted portrait of Cave Johnson. Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's so awesome. Like, but I wanted to get the Cave Johnson picture and put it over our fireplace.
Yeah,
like anytime I see them on eBay or something, they've been like around $240 or something like that.
Too much.
For them. Yeah,
I have a retro Lancer and a regular Lancer from Gears, like a full size replica, sitting there in my parents' attic because there's literally nowhere to put them here. And I'm sure if I hung them up, my wife would be like, "What crazy catastrophe are you doing in this office?" So I'm like, "Don't worry about it."
I have the Taxi Lancer hanging up behind me.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
I was huge NECA fan for still am, but they made all those really great collectible guns for the longest time.
Yeah, I want the NECA Ninja Turtles from the movie.
They look great. They're just impossible to find.
Yeah, they're like $200 a piece if you try to buy them, whatever. So I'll get
that lights up, right?
Oh, is that
this
the Sentinel?
Does not light up.
Is that the Sentinel?
No.
I thought
the Sentinel shield that does not light up.
I thought they were supposed to light up.
Nope. There are no lights anywhere on this thing.
Well, that's lame. You got ripped off.
It was $20, Corey, instead of $150. I bought it on clearance at GameStop for my own birthday present.
Oh,
you got ripped off.
You should put lights in it.
And my girlfriend let me put it up on the wall in the living room because she's the best.
Oh, well.
If you send that to me, I'll put LEDs in it for you.
Your girlfriend also plays Destiny with you, where mine thinks it's a dumb game that kids play. So
she does. She does in fact play Destiny with me and Halo with me, and I love her for it.
Mine tolerates me.
Yeah.
Your move.
Mine sits there and watches me play Fallout and asks me questions about everything that's happening.
Mine,
And beat Breath of the Wild all on her own. I'm so proud of her.
mine uses the kid controls on Mario Kart 8.
There's kid controls.
Yeah.
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 I'm
Where
not-
it
know
it
where to
accelerates by itself, and then you just tip the controller to turn left and right, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
and it also has a mode where it keeps you on the track no matter what.
Yep, I'm doing it. I'm putting those on tonight. I'm never losing again.
So now that we've gotten our, everybody's pre-order update out of the way for this episode, we'll keep you updated next week. And,
Next Gen Watch has been.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to have Shipment Watch 2020.
yeah. So Microsoft made a little purchase this week. Josh and I kind of already talked about it, but let's be honest, we're going to be talking about this for a while anyway. Microsoft has purchased ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda. So, yeah, for $7.5 billion. I believe my tweet said Microsoft just swung their $7.5 billion dick on the table and smacked Sony in the mouth with it.
they'll make that up in 1 quarter of earnings anyways. They make about $11 billion a quarter in earnings altogether throughout the whole entire company of Microsoft. So
Yeah.
no, it's
Well,
not
plus you
really
have
that
like,
much.
plus you have Fallout 76's microtransactions in there, and game sales and whatever.
ESO is actually huge. So is Fallout Shelter in terms of microtransactions. Like, can we reflect for a second? We did this on our recap. The RPG franchises that Microsoft now owns after this include Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wasteland, Fable, Elder Scrolls Online. God, there's like Outer Worlds, Pillars of Eternity, Avowed. Avowed is technically Pillars of Eternity, I guess. Grounded. You 10 RPGs. 10.
Yeah.
Plus
10.
whatever Wasteland's new IP is, because they said that they're working on
whatever In Exile is working on that is not Wasteland. Starfield. You have Starfield now too.
Yep.
And then in terms of shooters, you have Halo, Gears, Wolfenstein, Doom, and Prey. Like, just what the absolute hell? You have 3 of the top 4 or 5 FPS franchises. You have a deal with one of the others in Battlefield. Like, this wasn't like, we heard the phrase back in July from some insiders saying, "Oh, Microsoft is going to unload the entire clip at this conference." They did like 3 quarters. Like, they didn't really finish the job because we didn't get much gameplay. This week and the Series S whole like fiasco, this was emptying the clip. They emptied it, they reloaded it, they kept going. Like it is disgusting. This still does not make sense, and it's been a week. This makes no sense.
Yeah, I know. It's been baffling just like listening to podcasts and other people talking about it. I mean, NPR has talked about it.
Phil Spencer was on
News has
MSNBC
talked about
the morning of.
Yeah. So I mean, it's such a big deal that like the news stations that normally don't ever talk about games unless it's someone trying to get them removed because they think it, is causing someone to shoot up a school or whatever. For the first time, they actually talked about games, in a just a crazy fun way. But yeah, it's crazy. And then like there's like I said this on Boss Rush, like I absolutely loved the first Prey game. And I played some of the newer one, and it was good. It was an interesting game, but I still just liked the corny weirdness of the first one, like just the whole idea of going in the spirit world and shooting spirits with the bow and arrow to replenish your health and all that kind of stuff was just something interesting and different that I really hadn't done in a game before, like it made it unique. This idea that you don't actually ever die But when you do come back, you only get whatever health or whatever you could scrounge up before time ran, before Earth pulled you back into your body or whatever. But it was a cool idea, and I loved it, and like the whole aliens thing and all that stuff was kind of interesting in that setting, because it's like just takes place in this like out in the middle of a country kind of place. You're at a bar, and then the aliens come, and basically then you're sucked into their world or their ship or whatever, and then you gotta survive and save your friend or whatever. So, but yeah, it was a cool, interesting game, and I would just love to get a part 2 to that one, but I don't know if that will ever happen.
I loved the new Prey, like the new one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I felt it was probably like one of the games that I'm gonna say something, but I don't mean it in this literally. But like it reminded me the most out of like when I played Half-Life for the first time, the newer Prey, where it's just kind of like there's ways to solve these like puzzles to get to places, but you don't necessarily have to do that if you don't want to. But like obviously there's a benefit for doing it. Yeah. And there's also like you can absolutely play the new Prey however you want to play. If you like going down a crafting route, you can do that. If you haven't played the new Prey, I would highly recommend playing through it. I find it a very interesting game. It's almost like Half-Life meets almost crepes. You guys are gonna have to help me out with the name. This is embarrassing. The game with the Big Daddies.
BioShock.
BioShock. Yeah.
It's a very there's a lot of BioShock inspiration in there as well. I think it's great if you haven't played it, but whatever. That's just my thought.
Yeah, BioShocker. I almost got Dead Space kind of vibes in a lot of ways too, just because of the kind of the darkness in certain things. Like, I mean, like the world itself wasn't quite. It was definitely felt more like the setting of like you said with it didn't quite feel like Dead Space in that way, but the
type of enemy you're facing is reminiscent of Dead Space, I would say.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I think that the creativity you can get from these studios now is almost unparalleled. I know that there was a conversation going on in the main Boss Rush chat this week about, would it have been better to have bought WB Games than Bethesda? And I'm going to be completely frank. I'm going to say no. I do think that there are plus and minuses to both. I mean, obviously WB came in at half the price, but you have to remember with WB, it was not going to come with the DC or the Harry Potter properties, which would have been a lucrative part of any sale. It would have come with Mortal Kombat, but you have Killer Instinct in-house already. You just need to assign a studio to work on it. Hey, Ninja Theory, you want to work on that instead of Bleeding Edge? But with
they could have done Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct.
That would have been awesome. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Seeing Chief in Mortal Kombat. Oh God, Chief with a fatality would have been beautiful. I think that the IPs you're getting at Bethesda, that's obviously part of what you're paying for. You're paying for Elder Scrolls, you're paying for Fallout, you're paying for Starfield, Prey, Wolfenstein, Doom, like Quake. Dude, you got freaking Quake in your house now. Give me a new proper Quake game.
Commander Keen.
I miss Quake. And Commander Keen. I actually want that.
You're paying for all these legendary franchises. You're paying for an MMO that is actually fairly successful on consoles. And also literally a whale trap in that 76 and Fallout Shelter. Yes, Legends also. Like, I actually kind of like Elder Scrolls Legends. You're paying for the employees. I just added 2,300 people across those 8 studios to your teams now. Like, literally 1 or 2 of those studios are just meant to help, like, be extra teams on games that need it. So, like, had this deal, for example, gone through last year, like, Roundhouse probably would have been working on Halo Infinite, let's be honest. Like, they are there to help shore up. Bethesda, the game studios itself, has 4 offices. Like, we have 2 of them just here in Texas. It's crazy. Arcane has 2 teams. They have 1 in the States, 1 over in France. Like, you're paying for Dishonored. You're paying for... Also, you're paying for the tech behind it. Like, the ID engine is insane. That is one of the best looking game engines I think I've ever seen. You're paying for that. Like, you're thinking, oh my god, like Microsoft's future shooters can be built on this, and they don't have to be built in Slipspace if Slipspace is as much of a disaster as we're starting to think it is. Like, you are paying for people like Shinji Mikami and Todd Howard and Pete Hines to come join your company.
Well, they have they have their. I mean, theoretically, they have their Japanese studio now.
They do technically have that in Tango Gameworks. Like, you have a studio that's literally been built from the ground up with one of the greatest horror minds in the entire industry's history to head up not only your Japanese studio but also your horror studio. Like, there's no reason you can't second team out there because of that. Like, this is one of those very few industry defining moves that you'll ever see. Like, this is like the Star Wars sale to Disney. You're gonna remember where you were and when you heard this news.
Yeah, and how
more expensive.
$7.5 billion.
Yeah,
is not
I will now
any money
measure
compared
sales
to what
in terms
they
of
were.
how many Minecrafts or Star Warses you paid for it. They paid 3 Minecrafts for this and 2 Star Warses.
Yeah,
Two
which is
Lucasfilms.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, because they got
This
Indiana
is-
Jones too. Also, remember that.
Yep.
This is insane. Like, we've literally, like, when I say we've never seen this, this would be the equivalent of when Sega stopped making the Dreamcast, if Nintendo would have bought Sega out. That is the equivalent of how big of a move this is. This would be like Sony buying Square Enix out, or buying Konami.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not even buying Konami, like buying Square Enix would be on
Yeah.
this level. This is not just acquiring a studio or a group of studios. This is acquiring an entire publisher and their publishing division on top of all of their studios.
Yeah.
ZeniMax, we've come to find out, we were finding out even that evening. I think Corey and I touched on this briefly, but more details have come out. They were looking for a suitor for a while. Specifically, Bethesda itself was. Not even ZeniMax as a whole, but Bethesda was.
Yeah.
They were looking for a buyer for a few years. We heard that Sony was closing in on a deal to get exclusivity for Starfield for an undetermined amount of time, and it's crazy. Like, pre-existing agreements for Ghostwire and for Deathloop are still going to be honored, and I mean, between this sale and those deals, like, this may have been what kept the doors at Arcane and Tango open, frankly, after several, critically loved games, but games that did not exactly sell tons of copies. This is what kept those small studios afloat.
Yeah, my theory on like why this is all kind of happening the way it is, and Microsoft's looking to pick up bigger, gets than just like a Ninja Theory or whatever. Which, I mean, no, don't get me wrong, Ninja Theory is definitely an amazing company to have picked up. But, like something like this, Tango, like Bethesda and all that stuff, like, I think that they're looking to do this the way that a Netflix or a Hulu or whatever, like those companies that have their stuff on their streaming service, those companies actually own that app. Like a lot of the times those apps are part of the division of those companies that are running that content on the television. And so Xbox is doing this because they'll always have all this content that will be on there, and they want to make sure that there's always going to be like a ton of content on there that will always be permanent, or that will be promised that people want. So when maybe, if third party stuff or whatever down the line just isn't quite, getting on it as much as they want to in 1 month or whatever, or 2 months in a row or something, that they'll always have something that they can offer that will make it worth how much you're paying for it per month. I think that's why I think they're gonna start, and we have heard that they're looking to talk about someone else that they've bought as well, and a lot of people think it's Sega or whatever, but we
Conspiracy
still don't
Blue.
know for sure. Yeah, we still don't know for sure, but I mean, I think that we're going to see more of this as Game Pass becomes the thing that they push the most, is that they're going to want to make sure that they've acquired stuff that they can guarantee will be on that service. Like, that won't go away. It won't be something that's on for only a couple of months and then has to disappear, as much.
Something that I find that HBO does really well as a streaming service. Mm-hmm. I guess as a content provider in general, but I use it as a streaming service. I don't have like cable or anything.
Yeah, me neither.
The HBO, anytime that I'm rounding the end of a show that I'm watching on HBO, there's something that in the back of my head being like, you know what? This isn't worth $15 a month. That show has ended. Let's call it a day. That they always have something else coming out that's for the audience that will watch this other show that's like kind of ready in the wings, being like, hey, next week, or maybe like even right after this show, you're going to be able to watch this show. And then you watch the pilot. The pilot's always great. You're like, you know what? Maybe I'll watch another episode. It always keeps that subscription going. Something that I'm curious, and I'm sure that they will do, but like maybe you guys have a take on. Do you think Xbox is going to now start strategically releasing IPs or games in Game Pass now that they have so many in-house studios that they can be like, hey, it takes about 80 hours to get through this game. We're also then going to release this next game, this at this date. So that this way you always have that constant Game Pass. This is something I heard on a podcast that I was listening to today. Actually, it was like a lot of games that Microsoft is designing now are games that will take you a long time to beat. Like, I mean, even outside of Bethesda games now, it's like Wasteland 3, Halo Infinite is meant to be like a game as a service type game.
Grounded, when it's finished,
Grounded
will probably be pretty big.
The Outer Worlds, all these games are designed to take advantage of people's, Outer Worlds can be beaten in 12 hours, but you can play that game so many ways that you can replay that game like 3 or 4 times within a month. And by the time, Game Pass your 1 month is up, like there's something else. Sea of Thieves, Forza, these games are being designed as games as a service, so you keep subscribing. So
So I like that you brought that up, Corey, because I think when you look at titles that are on Game Pass right now, and you compare that with the services or with the games that Microsoft is buying or the partnerships that they're making, like with EA, you see that they're trying to get as much of that in-house as possible and not have to outsource it as much. They'd rather eat the gigantic chunk up front than have to pay licensing and pay money to big AAA developers as they figure out, like, oh my god, Game Pass is such a huge deal. Like, people are going to come buy microtransactions in our games or buy DLCs. Like, it works on me. I bought DLCs for Forza, and I like buying the Forza DLCs, but I was willing to pay for the Ultimate Pass as opposed to just buying the 2 DLCs. Like, oh, hey, I want the car pass. I want the VIP pass. It's priced the same amount. I might as well do this. I've bought microtransactions in some games because of this. Like, I'll buy the Outer Worlds DLC now. I spent a good 30 hours in that game. I'm ready to go back. It's so easy to do that. And with Bethesda games, like Elder Scrolls and Fallout are ripe for DLC packs. We see season passes come out all the time. I mean, when they made the Fallout 4 one, and Todd Howard had to come out and say, hey, we're going to honor if you paid $30 for this, but we're going to have to raise the price because we have another massive DLC we want to do with this. I'd love to see things like that. I want to see more standalone things like Death of the Outsider from Dishonored. It was a DLC for Dishonored 2, but you can also buy it and play it just by itself. I'd love to see that. Wolfenstein Youngblood essentially is that for me, or Old Blood. Like, both of those are smaller scale entries in these huge franchises. And I think go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you think that, Microsoft's going to do things like that? Like, okay, here's the game as a service type thing, but if you want like this smaller experience, it'll come to Game Pass like an ODST type spinoff.
I think that's a really interesting one, because I think that kind of ties into their whole, like, we have different tiers of services available to you. Like, a game like that's $20 may be something for us as console gamers. We're like, yeah, okay. But for the person who's only playing on mobile or on a tablet, they'd be like, oh my god, it's only it's only a 6 to 8 hour campaign. Okay, I can play this so much easier on this than trying to boot up Skyrim or a Fallout 76 or something, or even a Halo Infinite. Like, I can play an ODST. I can play a Halo Reach. I can play a smaller standalone Gears story. Like, there's so many ripe opportunities there, I think, with all these franchises and studios now. And we know Phil's goal is to have a major title out every 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
What if you have your major titles, like you have a major title every other month, but in those in-between months, you have a Battletoads, you have a Tell Me Why, you have a Death of the Outsider or something, you have a Grounded. Like, I don't want too many things to shift towards games as a service. I think they've already done that really effectively with Sea of Thieves. Yeah. I think they're doing it really well with Forza Horizon. Obviously, Motorsport is doing that, and Halo Infinite's going to do it. Beyond that, let's not do these going into next gen.
Plus, well, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but you have to remember too. Like, not only do they have Bethesda games, but they also have EA Play now. They have Destiny. They have they have deals in place with these others.
Those are slightly different. I
know
those aren't in house.
No, I know, but
I get what you're saying.
Those games are also available. So, like, in the meantime, if you finish something quote unquote early, you can go check out these other experiences.
I mean, like, I'll put it to you this way. Like, just how I was saying that I'll buy more DLC in some of these games that I like, I've already had friends tell me, like, man, I canceled my pre-order for Beyond Light because it's coming to Game Pass. I'm going to take that money and I'm going to buy some silver. Like, I'm absolutely going to buy some silver so I can buy some of these cool cosmetics. Like, my budget's a little constrained, but this is what I play the most. Like, no joke. Like, hey, I want to pay something for this game, and I'd rather pay for that now than Beyond Light. If it's going to be on Game Pass, cool.
Like, when you said silver, I thought you meant silver, like the metal. And I was like, that's a weird transition to go into, like, buying precious metals. I'm like, cash for gold. Yeah, got it. You got it.
I love you so much.
It's way more. Ready.
But I mean, I think you see things like that. We saw Halo 5 kind of supplement the Warzone experience with rec packs. We know rec packs are coming back in Infinite. I don't know. Like, I think that's why they're like, hey, we can keep Game Pass where it is. With the Bethesda transaction, though, a word of warning: do not expect this service to stay at $15 past 2021. I fully expect maybe even by the time Starfield comes out, or shortly after that, maybe after next Christmas, like first quarter 2022, expect that to go up to $20. They have now acquired too much to keep that.
It's still worth it, though. Like, $20 a month is still worth it.
I was talking about this with Ray last night. And I said, I have a number in mind where this would no longer be worth it for me to pay month to month. And that number is pretty high. Like, I think $30 would be my limit.
Oh, yeah, I think that's way too high for most people.
For most people, yes. That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, I think that would still be okay because I look at the majority of games that I play and they do come to Game Pass.
Yeah.
So for me, I continue to justify it. But yeah, I totally understand for the normal consumer. Like, if this goes above $20, I think a lot of people are gonna go, nope, I'm out.
I mean, I think I would probably still pay $30 a month, but I think, like, the highest.
That's my absolute limit.
Highest that.
Yeah.
Now, think about this, though. Like, you can, for $30 a month, you can pretty much buy an Xbox Series X and Game Pass for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too high. Yeah. Way too high.
I'm not saying I think it's a good idea. I'm saying, like, I have an absolute limit in mind of what I'd be willing to pay. I don't think they'll ever go that high frankly.
I think $19.99 is like...
I think that's your sweet spot.
I think people are like,
that's still low.
$5 extra, whatever. I think the absolute limit you could push this is $24.99.
I don't even think it'll go to 24. I think it'll be.
I don't either. I think $19.99 is a good sweet
spot.
But
if you push it up to $19.99, though, you look at this from a business perspective. You already have 15 million subs, and we saw Jason Schreier say this week that Microsoft and Phil Spencer see this, and even the CEO of Microsoft, like, he was all in on this, and he's pushing. Like, we want to do more. Like, we are going to get competitive in this again, and this is our first step. Like. They see this as the stepping stone where they go from 15 million to 30 million is this acquisition. I guarantee you this helped with the insanity of pre-orders last Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing this announced.
I guarantee.
I have friends who have already resigned themselves to, well, I was just going to get a PlayStation. I guess I'm having to buy an Xbox too now. Like, I'll buy a Series S to play. It'll be my Bethesda box is literally what they've said to me. And I'm like, man, you say that. I was like, watch and see what comes before those mainline Bethesda games. Like, I guarantee you there's going to be other things you like. Like, if you want to play Western RPGs, they're trying to position themselves just like they did in the original Xbox. That this is the place where you play your RPGs and you play your multiplayer games.
No, that's the thing is both consoles, we ultimately really don't know a whole lot of what is coming. What's to come.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, we've gotten our little, you know, their heavy hitter things that they know they can promote and people will be excited for. But what about the new stuff that, you know, that's still not even in the process enough yet to be shown anything, you know, like there's still like, and now all the you know, developers and stuff that Microsoft has, there's still so much to look forward to as far as like what you know, what you would be missing out if you didn't have this console. And that's where I get excited, is because this is like barely even the beginning of it, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's still so much to learn and find out yet of, you know, like the big studio that they made that's like gonna make the quadruple
the
A
Initiative?
titles, you know, like, yeah, the Initiative,
Which is
like,
apparently
I mean,
working on more than one project. I
yeah,
guess.
I wouldn't doubt it, because that's kind of how all of these devs have been. They've been working on a big project and a small project, and, you know, and like they're kind of like, you get the small project out, like you're, you know, and then you get, while you're still working on the big one, and then that comes out later. And meanwhile, while you're waiting for that, other companies are releasing small projects while they're working on big projects. It's like, it's kind of like they're just gonna constantly just have like two things that they're working on at all times, but one will just be a smaller thing and, you know, one a bigger thing. So there's always something ready, you know, over the months to come out with, you know, like that's what it seems like they're doing right now. But
Yeah.
and it's only begun. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've, you know, like we got a big dump of what was exclusive for Xbox in the last couple months of its life cycle. So, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've gotten a lot, and like, I know it's not the full thing, but like Grounded is still one of my favorite things I've played this year.
Yeah.
Like, I just absolutely love that game. Can't wait till it's finished.
Josh,
I mean- Oh, go ahead.
I think you mentioned something kind of interesting. Is you said you talked to people that said that this is going to be they'll get an S as their Bethesda box.
Mhm.
And my mind kind of wandered, because like if you think about X in mathematics, like it's the variable,
Mhm.
and I think Xbox did that beautifully. How many people are going to be buying an Xbox for one specific IP or one specific game? Like, there are people that are going to be buying this as a Halo box. There are people
Yep.
that are buying it as a Bethesda box. There's
Yep.
people that are
Cyberpunk.
absolutely buying it as a Destiny box. Cyberpunk, probably one of the best ways to play Cyberpunk that's not spending $3,000 on a PC. Like, and then having Game Pass, like, being like kind of the gateway drug to expanding their horizons a little bit. Be like, oh, this game looks interesting. I'm going to play just this one. And then before you know it, you don't have any time to left to spend any money on PlayStation anymore. Because if you're playing 2 or 3 games, like,
Yeah.
that's all you're, like, there are probably people that have more time than that, granted. But I think the majority of people can play maybe, like, have, like, 2 or 3 games in a rotation
Yep.
regularly. So I think that, oddly enough, naming it the Xbox is probably the best name for this stuff, because it's just like whatever it is that you want to play on this thing.
Well, I love that, you know, and when we talk about, you know, like people joking like, oh, it's gonna be my Bethesda box, it's gonna be my Halo box. Like,
Yeah.
that's funny because I've had friends who have called it the Halo box my entire life. Like, they've always gotten an Xbox to play Halo with us, because like by the time Halo 5 was coming out, like, oh, the box is a little bit cheaper, I'll jump in and get one at the Christmas sale. Like, you know, Halo 3 came out, we were already seeing the first price cuts. Like, they've never felt pressured to buy one at launch. They can always go get their PlayStation or their Nintendo or whatever. Now, though, I think, like, and this is the true genius of xCloud in a lot of ways. When you do an acquisition like this, you snag them in on the $15 a month, and oh, you can play this on your tablet. Oh, you can do, like, remote play now works on iOS, for example. Like, say your roommate has one, you're like, oh my god, this is really cool. I really like being able to play this here. Then you're like, I need my own. Like, they have all these RPGs I want. They have all these games I can play with my friends. Like, I really like this, and I think that really sets up an interesting war of attrition over market share between Microsoft and Sony. Like, it was so one-sided this generation, it wasn't even funny. But the Bethesda acquisition, to me, immediately puts Xbox Game Studios on the level of PlayStation Studios. Like, immediately, just overnight. Like, I don't care that they didn't grow them. It's like, well, you acquired them, and Phil has already said these games will still come to other consoles on a game-by-game basis. Now, I think that's intentionally vague wording as to not make a promise of, oh yeah, Elder Scrolls 6 is going to come. He's never going to say Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield is going to come to another platform. He's going to be like, no, we want you to buy into our system. Maybe with those games, you'll see them like a year later on another console. But I think the ones you'll continue to see are things like Doom, things like Wolfenstein, maybe even a Dishonored, something where they're like, well, it's not going to cost us anything. Like, people aren't buying a box just for these games. We might as well give them to the Switch, or give them to the Switch Pro, give them to PlayStation. Like, you do not spend $7.5 billion to not make Elder Scrolls and Fallout exclusive.
Yeah, I think
you have an Elder Scrolls game you can play. It's called ESO.
Yeah.
I don't like saying that. I definitely wouldn't like hearing it, but it's the truth. Like, you do still technically have an Elder Scrolls game on next-gen consoles. It is called Elder Scrolls Online. It is called buy the expansion packs. Like, I don't understand how you buy that company and you don't make Fallout 5 and Elder Scrolls 6 immediately exclusive. That would blow my mind if they didn't. That would be almost blow my mind as much as actually buying Bethesda.
I think that's a smart move for the game. I think it's a smart move for Bethesda if they can focus on one really like set of hardware, too, because like they
won't be buggy as hell when they launch.
They're buggy as hell when they launch anyway, but they get a pass because of their ambition. And I'm not saying that it's not right to do that. The games, people find different bugs because people play those games so differently. Like people like Fallout for the world. They don't like, oh, I like the crafting. Like, some people like the crafting, some people don't. Like, it's everyone likes the game for a different reason, but because they're in the same world. And I think that that's just going to be smart if they can focus on being like, oh, we only have to design right now for like the Xbox and PC potentially. And I like PC, I like maybe not. I don't know if they'll go that far. I would imagine they would with
they would
Game
stay
Pass.
on PC. Yeah, they would definitely have to stay on PC because that, let's be honest, like I still think that's where a majority of those kind of fans like that are really super hardcore about
Especially
those games
modders.
are the ones that play on PC.
Yeah.
Well, and now they actually, I'm pretty sure it is Bethesda that has their own. Isn't it Bethesda that has like right on their web page for Elder Scrolls or something like that? You can actually go in there and they have a whole modding page where you can go and do stuff for
Skyrim and Fallout 4 both do.
Yeah, where you can put in there that you're playing it on Xbox, and then there's a whole section where you can set up mods through that web page for the Xbox. Because like right now, like as far as it goes on console, unless they do something like that, you can't really mod a game unless you're doing something illegally.
Skyrim.
Unfortunately. So them doing that, I mean, that's such a big deal for them to be cool about something like that. And like, let's be honest, like my whole life, anyone that I know that's been into Xbox, chances are is because they have always been partially a PC person as well. And Xbox has just always been a very nice plug and play companion for playing on PC, like not having to worry about certain things and stuff, and still kind of getting close to that like PC experience without having to spend a lot of money on doing it, like. So I just think that like they've been doing such a great job with trying to focus on letting people on PC kind of get stuff as well and get some attention, that they've kind of been asking for a while now. Like, yeah, I just feel like it's crazy just seeing where Xbox is now compared to where they were at the beginning of this generation. Like, it's so completely night and day at this point that it's crazy how, like, just that little bit of a change to the people who are running things and stuff has just made such a big difference. But, I think, part of that, I mean, there's a lot of people involved to getting to this point, but like Phil Spencer, like having some idea from the developing side of things and how to look at things, I think really is what helped, get their focus right of what they needed to change in order for this console to be, appealing to developers,
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't something they really had last generation.
Holiday 2022, I'm going to call it and say, like, 2022, right when everyone's Game Pass from All Access is starting to wear off after those purchases, they're going to have to they're going to have to showcase all the stuff that these studios have been working on, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Super
think
excited.
the next couple of years are going to be very interesting. I've long said that I think the first half of 2021 is going to be pretty important for Microsoft. This acquisition is a way to soften the blow of really all you're going to get is Halo in the first 6-7 months of this console. Like, I mean, sure, you're getting.
You think Halo will be out that soon?
I think Halo is a late April 2021 game.
I think we were looking at probably like a 6-month delay.
Yeah, because if you delay it a full year, sure, you have the novelty of putting it out on the original's 20th anniversary. But if you delay
I think
that
they
game
come out with a console. I think they come out with the Halo console during that time instead.
Well, I think they're going to do a couple of things that we won't find out until E3.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have another ODST style game come out, the first campaign expansion or something, come out on the 20th anniversary. But that's beside the point. I think Halo is...
What if it's not happening? So everybody just cool your jets. But what if they remade Halo 1 inside Halo Infinite for the 20th anniversary?
I mean, you could do that. You've done an anniversary before and it wasn't that good.
I think if Halo is going as a game as a service, right?
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely think that. I don't think you would remake Halo 1 or Halo's, like, CE, whatever you want to call it, in Infinite, but I would not put it past being able to explore sections of the current day part of that game. So, like, maybe you can land on the ring, like a chunk of the ring that you exploded, and you could maybe solve a mystery from the events of that game directly. Mm-hmm. I think anything like that would be super cool. And in that, you could maybe even find, like, the Mark 4 armor, or like old armor, or you could find like an old.
You would do a separate story with Blue Team. Like
you could. There's a lot you could do there. I don't think they would remake the game, but it would be cool. But I think they could do something cooler by just like, let's explore stuff from that game around its anniversary that is like new.
I get $10 to $15 experience is perfect and kind of fits in with the Game Pass mantra, because then you could be like, oh, well, it's not going to be included as part of Game Pass, but you already get a 20% discount. So here's the 20% discount on this. Like, if you are pegging Halo to be your big spring title, though, like, let's just for discussion's sake, let's say that's coming like mid second quarter. You have Psychonauts, which is on everything. You probably have Age of Empires and maybe Flight Sim coming. The Bethesda purchase immediately makes Q1 and Q2 look better, because the second that deal is signed, all those games are going to start flooding Game Pass. You have a steady stream of content the rest of the year. Even if they are older games, I guarantee you a lot of people have not played those and will actually give games like Dishonored a try. Sure, Dishonored 2 is on there right now, but like Doom Eternal comes on Tuesday. Or Thursday? Thursday. It comes out on Thursday. Like, you're listening to this, it'll come out 2 days later. Those are heavy hitters. That is a legit Game of the Year contender, and it's only been out for 6 months. Like, you have repeated hits like that coming. That softens the blow of not having those first-party games and buys you time for the second half of 2021. Because I've been sitting here trying to rationalize, how do you get through the first 8 months of a console if Halo Infinite isn't out by E3? That's just no matter how many units you sell, that's a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Because
still need it.
Avowed and Fable are not coming in the first half of next year. The
Guys, I
initiative
can't
game
wait
is
to
not
play
coming.
Halo. I can't wait.
Well, and with the AI learning stuff too, that's going to be in the Series X, like they potentially, a lot of those like Oblivion and all that stuff, they can potentially make look way better without having to really do a whole lot to it.
Yeah.
Too, like, which is another thing that the Xbox has going for, is that AI learning stuff, I have a feeling is going to be very crucial for, like just like doing justice to some of the backwards compatibility games that they maybe just don't have the time to spend on, or or whatever, because like, let's be honest, like that, like as much as I was really, really bummed that PlayStation wasn't going to be doing backwards compatibility, like, honestly, if they weren't willing to put in the work that Microsoft was to do it, then I would rather just not have it at all. Because, like, if you're just going to give me a straight port of those PS2 games that's going to look no different than what it would have looked like on my PS2, then what's the point? I can just go play it on my PS2 then. Like, that's the thing, is Microsoft set such a high bar for the backwards compatibility stuff, like,
I mean,
that it's if you're not going to do that, then what's the point in even doing it?
I mean, that's the whole thing with the Mario 3D All-Stars thing too, is like, there was very little work done to those games. And like, as much as I'm enjoying my time with Mario 64 right now, it's like, you couldn't have at least like done something, like the textures are cleaner, right? Like, I will give it to that, but in like Sunshine and Galaxy are in widescreen and 1080p or whatever, but like, they still look like somebody just up-resed. Yeah, it's not great, and like the way that Microsoft's been doing like the backwards compatibility and updating stuff for, One X and now Series X, and being able to go in and play, SSX3 in like 900p or something, and not widescreen, but it's still like the textures are better, the game runs better, like it just looks better overall. Is like, they have set a precedent, right? And it's really nice to do that if you want. Or like even Republic Commandos, right? Like, I popped that in the other day because I was like, oh yeah, this is backwards compatible, and I own it digitally somehow, and here we go, let's play some Republic Commando, which great game, by the way. Still love that game. Controls were inverted though, so it threw me off, but
yeah, I mean, I kind of the final note, I would say nothing, of course, is final until this actually goes through. At this point, I don't know why it doesn't, but it's expected to close in Q1 or Q2 of next year. So sometime between January and E3, I would bet on them trying to close this as soon as humanly possible. Like, Bethesda can't make any more business dealings now because that would affect the sale. Microsoft also cannot order them to do anything right now or ask them to make a deal that would benefit them. So everything's kind of in limbo right now. We know Deathloop is a Q2 game right now. Ghostwire is probably early fall. Both of those games, to my knowledge, have year-long exclusivity agreements. At least Deathloop does. Deathloop, I know for sure, is a 1-year agreement. So I would say probably look mid-March for this to be completed. That's the 15th anniversary of Oblivion. If you're going to close it, I think that's probably a good date to aim for.
And Oblivion and Morrowind come to Game Pass that day. So,
dude, like, if you're going to up-res any games that Bethesda has made, I think that the no-brainer is Morrowind, Oblivion, and Fallout 3. I know they have 1X enhancements, but I think actually fixing those for the Series X, I think more people would get excited for those than we think.
I kind of want to... I've never played through any of the Elder Scrolls games.
Oh my God, Corey, you're breaking my heart.
I told you I told my Skyrim story on this show. I told my Skyrim story. I played until the dragon came.
I know, Corey.
I didn't know where to go, and I died, and I did it again, and
Oh my god!
I rode into town
Yeah.
for like 30 minutes, right? Like
Listen.
it did the whole thing.
10-year-old me playing Morrowind for the first time. That is a moment that I think like maybe only two other games have ever made me feel that way, and that is playing Ocarina of Time for the first time and playing Halo 2. Like where I just knew something was different after that.
Yeah, I mean,
And
it sounds
man,
like Mario 64 for me, right?
yeah.
And Gears.
It was my Mario 64 moment playing that. That was the first OG Xbox game that I ever played, and I was like, oh my god, this is... N64 didn't have anything like this. This was so... GameCube didn't have anything like this at the time. Like, I was playing Luigi's Mansion and Mario Sunshine when I played Morrowind for the first time, and I was like, yeah, I want an Xbox now.
Well, I mean, Morrowind was like... I mean, that was so revolutionary for console RPGs at the time, right? Like,
Well,
I mean,
and Todd Howard talked about that this week.
Yeah, on
Phil
Major
Spencer,
Nelson.
Major Nelson.
Yeah.
He says, that we were intrigued. Like, we didn't think this would work on a console, and Microsoft was like, "Nah, trust us. Like, come try it." Like, I love the anecdote he shared about whenever you would hit a super long load screen in that game, it was because the game was rebooting in the background. And it was a trick that somebody at Microsoft had showed Todd and the development team how to do.
Yeah.
I was like, huh. Well, that makes a lot of sense now, because you did get stuck on some pretty long loading screens. But yeah, like Corey, like you said, that was one of the first instances where it was like, this is a purely PC game that is coming to a console.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because like that Xbox architecture was so close to what was in PCs.
And
it literally was. It was parts they grabbed and they threw together. That's why it was so big.
Yeah.
Well, and like Bethesda's always, and they noted this in all the statements that Todd and Pete and a few others were making this week, that they've always had that relationship with Xbox since the Morrowind days. For 18 years, they've had that too. Really longer than that. They've had that partnership and that friendship for close to 20 years now, probably. So this made sense. At the end of the day, this made sense. They were looking for a buyer. Microsoft came calling. They had big enough pockets to dump everything. One question I do want to pose to all of you before we get out of here, or move on to the next topic. I don't want to assume control. Do we think that this is it for Microsoft's purchases, or should it be the end? I guess I should phrase it.
I don't think it's the end. I think they're going to try to grab one more major player. Maybe definitely not as big as Bethesda, right? Like,
yeah, it can't be somebody with multiple studios at this point.
No, I think the Sega rumor is enticing, although I'm pretty sure they came out and debunked that rumor at some point.
Mm-hmm.
They did. The only reason as a business note, the Sega one would actually be a lot harder to do than any other one, because Japan is so strict on the selling of companies.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if an American company tried to come in and do it. Like, now Sony tried to do it, that'd be a little bit different. Like Sony and Square Enix, that would likely be done easier since those are both Japanese companies.
Mm-hmm.
This is an American player trying to come into the Asian market, though, and I don't think it would. But anyways, that's a little aside. Continue.
No, but I mean, I think Sega would actually make sense for them. It's a big enough company to, make people turn their heads, but they're not. It's not like they're not so big that like people are gonna like. I just think that move would make sense. It gives them a couple Japanese studios. It gives them a foothold in Japan. It gives them JRPGs because they own Atlas, right? Like, I mean, they would technically own Persona at that point, and Shin Megami Tensei and
Yakuza.
Yeah, Yakuza, and like I just think that would really make sense for Microsoft to move that direction. But also, I don't know, man. I know it's not over. I just don't know who it would be at this point.
I mean, if we're going, because I'm personally of the opinion that it's not going to be somebody who owns multiple studios.
Yeah.
Like a Ubisoft or something.
Oh God, if they acquired Ubisoft, I think I would just have to quit video gaming, because that would be so monopolistic at that point.
Yeah.
The ones that I think make sense are all kind of smaller companies. I've said on here before that I believe that they're trying to do deals for Asobo, who made Flight Sim and Plague Tale, for Don't Nod, of course, behind Tell Me Why and Life is Strange. And we've heard the rumors like all year long about Bloober Team but I think that Bloober is contingent on if the medium reviews well. We do know that all three of those have been in varying states of financial issues, which is usually what Microsoft tends to target. Ninja Theory, of course, fit that bill, Obsidian, several others. Beyond that, the other one that I had heard rumored for a while was that they were trying to get Techland behind Dying Light, which, God, I hope that's not true. Beyond that, I don't really know who else makes sense. I do think it makes sense. Oh, go ahead.
There's still that the whole Bungie one too that had been rumored and that they said isn't true, but I mean you kind of would have to say that if it was a legal thing anyways. So
that's the point.
But I don't know.
Story on Tower Casuals about it. I personally think that the Bungie one is dead in the water now. After this, they just acquired 3 more teams that can make world-class FPS games. And that my personal belief is that they have actually entered into a deal to publish the next new IP from Bungie exclusively for Xbox. But if you're going to acquire a studio, I think the Flight Sim studio Asobo makes the most sense right now. To keep a team that knows your tech that well in-house. And I mean, beyond that, like you always want to target what your weaknesses are, right? Like, and right now for them, it's the Japanese market, and it's to a degree, it's horror. Like you have Shinji Mikami in house. Like expand. I'd rather you just expand things like Tango Gameworks or Arcane. Like give them bigger studio teams. Like let them make multiple games at once. I don't want to see a mega acquisition like a Konami or a Capcom or something, because at a certain point it is too monopolistic for me, especially when some of these studios like Ninja Theory and Obsidian have multiple teams going. Like Xbox actually has more than 23 studios and teams working on stuff. Like 343 has something like 500 or 600 employees just making Halo Infinite. Coalition has like that much just working on Gears. Let your teams expand to something else. Like, I think it makes sense to try and get somebody like a Don't Nod for the Game Pass model. But I don't know. Like Dream Acquisition, I'd love it if they got somebody in there to make beat 'em ups and fighters. I think Battletoads could have been really good with an internal team and not just Rare overseeing a separate studio. And as I said before, Killer Instinct with all Microsoft characters. Do it. You have enough characters now. I want to see.
I mean, they're in there anyway,
Blazkowicz
right? Like
fight the Arbiter.
Like, I mean, Arbiter, Rom, one of the Battletoads, they're all in there still, right? Like, they're in Killer Instinct now, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, Killer Instinct Season 3 added a lot of characters like that. I would just like to see a full-on fighting game. Like maybe like give me the classic Killer Instinct roster, but then just put like all these wacky, like put Conquer in there, put Joanna Dark, I want to see Cameo in there. I want to see Banjo and Kazooie fighting Marcus Phoenix. Like just go all out with it. Make it really wacky.
Could you imagine Marcus Phoenix chainsawing Banjo Kazooie in half and just like?
It would be Corey. It would be glorious, and I would pay for it. I would.
Where's that Sea of Thieves pirate in there?
Dude, throw Briggsy in there because everyone hates her. Just like the possibilities are so right. Like I had a friend message me on Twitter during all this, and he's like, "Josh, you realize what this means? Like, Quick Champions can come to consoles now, but Microsoft could totally revamp that as their own hero shooter." I'm like, I don't know if I want that, but yeah, sure. Put a free-to-play hero shooter on Xbox. Like, put some Xbox characters in there.
I mean, cool Master Chief, Doom guy, Skyrim guy,
DJ Blazkowicz,
Fallout guy.
On,
like, I mean,
on Wolfenstein.
You could do it, man. Marcus Phoenix in there, Coltrane. Like, you could put all these guys in there.
You could.
Commander Keen with his Packers helmet.
Oh my God, you and Commander Keen.
I grew up playing that all the time on PC, so like I played that more than I played Mario. Because I didn't have Nintendo at home. I just played that when I was at my friend's. I had Commander Keen on my PC.
It all makes sense now, guys.
I think the only other outside studio I could see them possibly acquiring would be a creative assembly or a certain affinity type that has been aligned with them for several years, as it is.
Yeah.
To possibly take over games like Gears Tactics and Halo Wars, and to help with just like multiplayer integration.
Well, isn't Creative Assembly owned by Sega?
God, dude, I can't even keep track of who everybody owns anymore. Honestly, I bet they are, knowing my luck. But that would be about it. Like, those are the only kinds of series. Like, it's things to reinforce what they already have or something that they're missing. I can't see another. If it's another conglomerate, people will rightfully call it a monopoly. And I think they're working too hard to not be seen, not only as a monopoly, but to be seen as, like, the super consumer-friendly platform right now.
Yeah.
And ecosystem. Like, you can join us for just $15 a month and a smartphone.
Yeah.
You can't do that with anybody else. That's a lower price of entry than the Switch is.
Mm-hmm.
That beats the Switch Lite. Like, because who doesn't have a smartphone at this point? Smartphone asterisk.
Yeah, and you get that Razer Kishi, and it feels like a Switch.
Yeah, but
you can have it.
Kishi grip on it, or you can just grab a regular controller and slap the $15 grip on it. Like,
well, I got mine for like $3.
so many different ways
clip.
to do this.
Yeah. Joe,
Yeah.
you've been quiet during this conversation.
I don't have a whole lot to add, just from the standpoint of, like, I think Microsoft has, like, an open door as far as, like, what any studio that, like, would potentially fit their lineup. But I think at this point, I don't know that they're actively, like, searching people out. I think the Bethesda thing was something that's been on the table for probably a while and been going around in circles, and they eventually came to a conclusion. I don't think that it was like I think it was part of the original round of being like, we need to get all these people on board. So I think that if they talk to somebody and something evolves out of it, I don't think Microsoft would shy away from buying somebody, but I don't think that they're, like, necessarily on the hunt anymore as they once were.
Yeah, I think they're on the hunt for that one studio, and that studio is Flight Sim right now, frankly.
Yeah. Especially because,
I think
like,
that's the only one.
I mean, the Flight Sim studio knows how to use their tech better than Microsoft does at this point, it seems like. So, I mean, that would be like...
And then they created an awesome storytelling experience in Plague Tale, so...
Yeah.
What if it's there's not maybe they're just gonna, like, purchase a small, like, something small, but they're, like, something that they're looking to do would be bigger, that's, like, more of, like, on the EA side, where they're like team up with someone. What if they were to team up with, like, the new Valve or something?
I mean, I definitely see another third-party deal for Game Pass coming, but I don't know if it'll be as big of a deal as EA.
Because, like, what if they like, all of a sudden we hear Portal 3 does happen and it's only on Xbox and PC?
I mean...
something like that. Like, something big like that it would literally be a console seller.
Do you think they could buy, like, a studio from some, like for example, you think they could look at, not that this is going to happen, but they could buy, like, BioWare from EA or something? Do you think, I mean, not that drastic or anything, but do you think they could buy a studio from another company?
Respawn.
Oh God, no.
Buy 'em back.
Yeah, right. EA's not.
Man, if Jedi Fallen Order
Kill
and
you.
Apex Legends were not hits, I could see Respawn coming over. I think the only studio they could buy from another studio would be, like, Creative Assembly, frankly. I don't think Microsoft is really in the business of going out buying it. And then it kind of depends on, like, how Don't Nod works out too. Like, I don't think they're owned by Square, but they could buy out Square's shares in that company.
Yeah.
I really think, like, though, Corey, you hit the nail on the head earlier when we first started the conversation about Bethesda, which was they're trying to bolster their Game Pass lineup. I don't know if it was you or Joe, like, we've all made this point a million times. We are seeing them play the long game here. Like, yes, the Bethesda move is meant to bolster Game Pass and to make it more appealing against PlayStation 5, but this is something they're trying to look beyond just the next, like, 2 to 3 years. We will not see the fruits of this purchase likely until 2022, maybe 2023. Like, we just flat out won't. Any games that come out in 2021 will likely be cross-platform, even if they are just timed exclusives on one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
End of 2022, maybe even Elder Scrolls 6 territory is when we'll finally see like the fruits of this, which is going to be partway through the generation. It's going to be almost midway, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They are clearly playing the long con for the future. They know that they'll have several games coming to Game Pass. They'll have the entire back catalog, presumably, and hey, I think ESO expansions may come there eventually too. Like, you now have that door open like you do with Destiny to add those expansions.
I wonder what's next from Bethesda. Like, I mean, besides Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, like,
It's Starfield.
You don't think it's something like Wolfenstein 3 or something?
Wolfenstein 3, I think, is the definite possibility for like August or September of next year. But I think their next, like, their major title that's going to get people excited is Starfield.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, I think Wolfenstein's a big deal, but Starfield is the first new IP from Bethesda proper in 20-something years since the original Elder Scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is something like, and we just had we had a couple leaked screenshots last night, like 2 leaked pieces of artwork and a screenshot from an early like 2018 build. Get speculated Microsoft already might have access to that stuff. An intriguing bit, like before we end on Bethesda, they almost sold to EA a couple of years ago, apparently. I was just reading that earlier today. Can you imagine? Like, for all the complaining we've heard about Microsoft buying them, I'd infinitely rather them be confined to a platform than to, like, Stadia or to EA.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's been the ongoing sentiment for a lot of this stuff. Is it's like people everyone always says, "Well, I'd rather Xbox buy it than
like I don't
this,
like
or
this.
I'd rather
But...
yeah."
Wow.
Yeah, because and I mean that comment alone just shows that they have changed things so much to the point of where they're actually letting these companies do their thing and not I think sometimes maybe they're not stepping in as much as they should be with developing some of these games and stuff that have come out in the past couple of years, but I'm glad that they seem to be sticking to their word of them kind of letting these developers kind of do their thing and not trying to make them into something that they're not, and just let them have their passion projects that they want to do and have, just venture out and try new things. Like if we would have said that Obsidian was going to make Grounded like years ago, I don't think anyone would have believed that. They said, yeah, like Obsidian's going to make a Honey I Shrunk the Kids game. Like, we would have been like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think it's just cool that they're getting to kind of try these different unique things and like maybe what's it called, the fighting game that the guys from Hellblade did,
Bleeding Edge.
Yeah, Bleeding Edge. It didn't do well. It didn't do great for them, but they had been wanting to make that for how long, and they got a chance to do it. They don't have to be thinking, well, what if anymore. So, that's the thing. I think it's just going to be really fun to see what kind of crazy things, some of these teams come up with, things that maybe they had been thinking about a long time ago. Because it's crazy how many times games that we, these amazing games that we get were just like these little projects that someone was working on the side and just said, hey, I have this or whatever. And then, it ends up being something big enough that they can work on as a full project. And next thing we know, we've got this big, amazing game coming out from someone that no one expected,
Yeah.
So.
Well, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Watch Raised by Wolves on HBO. It's
Raised by
Super good.
Hmm.
Sci-fi
Yeah.
show. Real good.
I've been watching that Murders on White House Farm or whatever. That's on HBO. It's like based on a true story. It's really good. I guess there's a podcast that you can listen to where they talk about the actual real stuff that happened or whatever. That's like supposed to go along with it. But man, it's really good and it's messed up. It's like took place in the UK. But yeah, HBO, like you said, like HBO has been like they've been just all these kinds of things come to that service lately, and I've just been staying on that app more than anything else, honestly.
Nice. Well, we're gonna get on out of here. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this show. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you consume this show, whether it's on Twitch or on YouTube or your podcast service of choice. You can also catch our family of shows and everything else we do on bossrushgames.com. Joe, where can we find you?
Colonel Panic, K3RNL_Panic on Twitter. Also on Instagram. Twitter is best, though. Find me there.
Jesse, where can we find you?
You can find me everywhere as Phantom NXS.
And Josh, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Josh_Finn. It's Finn with 2 N's, as always. And the constant agonizing over if Target has charged my card 25 times for failed pre-orders or not. Also, live moving updates on Wednesday.
Okay. You can also find me at I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on various things happening on Boss Rush Games, like Nintendo Power Block and Tower Casuals, as well as this show. Check out our family of shows, family of content, all the stuff. Oh, by the way, new show, well, kind of new show, new live show coming on Wednesday nights from Logan and Austin, Trash Talk, a sports talk show. You can check it out right here on Boss Rush Games live. So you can check that out. I want to thank everybody so much for watching and or listening. Check out all of our content on bossrushgames.com. And we're going to throw up the X. Because we're exiting. Goodbye.